Hello and welcome back to the Tiny Stories channel, where today I want to share some of, I haven't done this series in a really long time actually, and I only have 2 videos on it I think, but it's like writer questions, kind of to get to know myself better as a writer and kind of share my processes, techniques, whatever on certain things. So I have this whole list, very long list of questions, and I've just picked 5 out of the pile of a question, which, you know what I should do? I should end up rewriting these, and I should pull them out of a jar and think about what I want to write, because, or think about what I want to say, because I kind of wrote down everything, but maybe I should do them on the spot for the next one. That'd be really cool. Well, now it's documented, so I'll try to remember to do that. But the first question is going to be, how do you make timelines for your story? Where in the process do you construct them, and how in depth are they? So for the first novel I wrote, I didn't start making an actual timeline until I had written over like half of the novel, but then I started having trouble keeping track of things that were happening, and I wanted a better idea of where the story was going. I usually use Excel to put the events in order, because using that app I can rearrange things as I get the story, like the storyline together. And I can add things in if I want to, like I just pick up a whole like part of the column, move it down, add something, or I can move something up, move something down, you know, it's really easy to move things around. The one I have for the first novel of Project Red is pretty detailed though. Like I have so the first part, in like as the columns go, it's going to be character, or I think it's section, character, the time of day. And sometimes I get more detailed with the time of day, other than like, oh, morning, afternoon, night, what day it is, because knowing what day it is for me is really important. For, oh, this happened 3 days later than this day, this happened the next day, this is happening in the morning, this is happening in the afternoon, stuff like that. And then what happens in the section is the biggest part. And it works as a fairly like detailed, just like outline of the story. So for Project Red, it's really helped me to see what's happening in each section. Like I have a paragraph. I mean, some of them are only a couple sentences, and some of them are only a sentence, but like a snapshot of what the section's gonna be about. And then when I go into Dabble and start writing, I can take that sentence or whatever, make a more detailed outline for that section, and then start writing it. And that just helps me to do that. So timelines are really important for the stories I write. And then I'm gonna have to make one for I think it's Project Void, or It's All in Your Head, or something like that. I don't remember what I'm calling it anymore, but I'm gonna have to make one for that. The next question is, do you create playlists or aesthetics or lists of movies to watch to get into the vibe of your story? Where in the process do you do that, and how often do you reference them while writing? So when I was writing Project Red, like in the beginning parts of when I started writing it myself, because I started that story with a friend at the time, not friends anymore, and I decided to finish it on my own. And I've really evolved the story so much more than we had at the time. But it wasn't until I started the second notebook, because I ran out of space in the first one, so I started a second notebook with all the essential stuff from the original one, that I made a mood board for it. And I look at it every now and then when I want to remember the vibe I had going for the story. And I do need to make one for Project Void, because I need a place for like writing stats and all that stuff. I have a video on my writing notebook for Project Red, I'm pretty sure. I'll probably make a video for when I make one for Project Void. It depends on when I get there. Because I need a place for stats, and then I need a place to write notes, because sometimes I feel like, in general, because I could have typed up this whole thing, but I didn't. I wrote it by hand. So sometimes I feel like writing by hand. It feels like I'm getting the thoughts out faster, they're more cohesive, and they're much more, I wrote these, not I typed them into a computer kind of thing. So I do need to make one of those for Project Void as well. I know I love Writer Notebook. I mean, I use Dabble, and I love that app to death, but sometimes I do just want to write things by hand. And I have plenty of highlighters to help me do that. I have just a small thing because of my stationery addiction. I have every color. There's 30 of them here. I have every color of the mild liners now, so I will have plenty of colors to color code everything for Project Void, and actually in my other notebook as well for Project Red. So I do create mood boards. To answer that question, I do create mood boards, and sometimes I'll think about the kind of music I want to listen to that gets me into the mood, but I listen to nothing but Hollywood Undead, so that's kind of hard to do sometimes. So usually I'll just make a mood board and look at it every now and then to think about, this is the vibe that I was going for. Let's see if I can make it happen. Because sometimes I get off track and things get changed a lot, so that's good to have. I do like having mood boards for the story I'm working on. The next question is, do you have anything within your writing process that is double work or not as efficient, but is still something you need to do multiple times? So for me, whenever I come up with a new idea that would change the entire novel in a way, or it needs to be weaved through the whole thing, I have to start over from the beginning and write like that first chapter going into the story onwards, just so I can work the idea into it. Because if I make a note of said idea and then come back to it after I finish the novel, I'm never going to remember what I was going to do with it. So I feel like I have to start with the idea right then and work it into the story as I go, or nothing's going to make sense when I'm looking at it after I finish the novel itself, and God knows how long it's going to take me to finish it, because I still haven't, because this is what happens. I come up with this new idea, I'm like, oh, I should add this into it, and then I start over from the beginning and then work my way through it until I'm at about the middle to 2/3 in. Now it's about half, because I added the biggest one that I did most recently, which was a year ago, was I added two new characters' point of views, because it used to be the main character and the love interest. I heard their 2 points of view of the story. Then I added the 2 villains as well, because hearing their side of everything sounded really important, because this is going to be a really long novel series. So that's been really fun. There's 180 sections now. I don't know if it's going to be 180 chapters, but it's 180 sections, and I might have to break it up into like 2 different books, because it's going to be really long. It's going to be so long. It's going to be an epic, but not in a cool way. Only because of the word count will it be an epic. And the other thing I do is when I get stuck at a part in the novel, I do start from the beginning and hope that I'll have an idea of where I want the story is supposed to go by the time I get to wherever I got stuck the first time. Because I can write an outline all I want, but writing the actual scenes, chapters, sections, all of that, it gets a little rough, and I'm like, I don't know. I have an outline. Like, I'm on section 24 right now, I think. I mean, I have other sections written, but 24 I got stuck on because I wrote a really detailed outline. But now we're at the part where I'm actually writing the section, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with it. So, yeah, that's how that goes. When I use the snowflake method to write a new story as well, I do a lot of rewriting of each part. So earlier today, I was working on my writing blog and stuff, and I was working on Project Void. And so what you do in the snowflake method is, I've probably said this so many times, you start with 1 sentence, 1 paragraph, 1 sentence character summaries, character questions. So through all of those things, I'll write them down and then come back to it a few hours later, the next day, whatever, and then I'll revise the sentence, paragraph, whatever, and make it a little bit more cohesive and a little bit more like something that would make sense. So I've been doing that for the last few days for Project Void, but I do a lot of rewriting because it helps me get into more detail and figure out in better words what I want to say. And then the next question is, do you ever struggle with getting back into a writing routine after a purposeful or not break? What helps you get back into the place you'd like to be as you go forward writing? So when I take a break from writing, it's usually on purpose because I get writer's block and need some time to think about the story before coming back to it. Sometimes watching TV shows or movies that are like the novel I'm writing help me get back into the writing. I also listen to music I like when I'm trying to get back into my story But it doesn't really have anything to do with the story exactly. It just helps me to get excited and into the mood to write, because sometimes I listen to music when I'm writing. Most of the time I don't, because it distracts me. I'll just have like a YouTube video or whatever show I'm watching at the time playing on the under monitor. But sometimes I will just listen to like Hollywood Undead or something, because it gets me all excited, so then I'm excited to write. But I do struggle with it a little bit sometimes. Like, I haven't written in Project Red for almost a month and a half now, I think. I'll have to look at the stats. I made this whole lovely Excel spreadsheet that I haven't even been using because I haven't been writing Project Red. I might have to make a different one for Project Void, or just put the stats together for both of them and see how that goes. But, yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of vampire shows, honestly, to get back into writing or get ideas for what I want to do for that story. Project Void, rewatched Teen Wolf Season 3B, I guess. I don't know, to understand how the Void Spirit kind of works and stuff, and how they, like, think and all those things, and get an idea of what I want to do with the story. But, yeah, music helps me get into it a lot. And then the last question is, have you ever received writing advice that was at the perfect time, and what was the advice? So I learned about the snowflake method probably at the perfect time, because I was stuck in my writing for Project Red, and I was trying to make like an actual outline for the story, because I had no idea where it was going, and I wanted to make the story more cohesive because I had rewritten it so many times. And then starting all the way back at the beginning and starting with getting to know my characters before throwing them into the story with an idea of how they would react to whatever was happening to them was really important, because you can make an outline for a story all you want, but if you don't know your characters, you don't know where they come from, where they're going, what their motives for things are, how they think, and stuff like that, you're never really gonna be able to put them into a story like that. Or, I mean, for me, it won't work. So understanding the snowflake plotting method and how it works and how to use it to write a novel from scratch was really important to me. And, I mean, it's helped me so much, because it helped me but kind of evolve Project Red a little bit more. And that's actually how I got onto the outline, like the total, I don't know, overhaul in a way of the outline that I make now, as opposed to what I was doing before, which is just like bullet points. Oh, this happens this happens then, and this, and that's about it. I wasn't, you know, going section for section, chapter for chapter, like, oh, this is what's going to happen here, and then so much time later this is going to happen, and then having all their storylines come together, stuff like that. So I do really love the snowflake method, and it came to me at the perfect time. And now using it for Project Void, I understand like even more how important it is, because it just helps me get it together, get to know my characters and stuff like that. So I love the snowflake method, and I'll probably swear by it until I find something better, which I haven't yet, and I've been using it for a couple years now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have any other questions about writing, my process, methods, whatever, any of that kind of stuff. And that'll about do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!